Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's special Dan Kiley lecture. Thank you for our guests that are coming from Boston and other cities around the Boston area. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Anita Berisbeitia, Chair of the Department of Landscape Architecture. And I am very pleased to introduce tonight GSD alum, design critic, and most distinguished landscape architect Toru Mitani. Toru is a founding partner with Hiroki Hasegawa, Chisa Toda, and Yuji Suzuki of Studio on Site, and a professor of landscape architecture at Chiba University's School of Horticulture in Tokyo. Throughout 2.5 decades in practice, he has built a remarkable portfolio of projects, many of them in collaboration with distinguished Japanese architects, such as Fumiko Maki, Shigeru Ban, and Sai Takeyama, to name a few. Toru's intellectual formation is unique in both American and Japanese disciplinary contexts. He received a Master of Architecture from the University of Tokyo and a Master of Landscape Architecture here at the GSD in 1987, continuing on to receive his PhD from the University of Tokyo in 1992. As a scholar, his research has focused on Asian gardens, specifically the gardens of Korea, modern China, and Japanese gardens and urban landscapes, both historical and contemporary. Not so well known is the impact that American landscape architecture has had in his career. The two primary influences for Toru while he was at Harvard were minimalism's focus on landscape expression as both material and visual logic, and related to this, phenomenology's position that one makes sense of the world through visual perception. A third key influence on Toru has been none other than the American landscape itself, specifically precision agriculture, those forms of production in which management and cultivation take on a serial expression at immense scales, as seen in the American Mid and Southwest. Finally, American earthworks, land art, and extraction landscapes were the topics of his 1992 dissertation. While he was a student at the GSD, we saw with great envy how he drove across the country twice. First, following a southern route, Boston-LA, returning via the northern route, San Francisco back to Boston. In this, his own version of the Grand Tour, he documented the sites that would eventually be the subject of his dissertation and of a series of essays he published in Japanese upon his return to Japan a few years later. His essay, Pilgrimage Through the American Landscape, his translation into the Japanese of John Beardsley, Earthworks and Beyond, and a series of articles on landscape architects Peter Walker, George Hargraves, and others were the result of this fruitful journey through the United States. Perhaps as a result of this double immersion in Japanese and American design culture, Toru has, over the past 2.5 decades, positioned his work at the intersection of what are typically competing frameworks of design: ecology's mandate for heterogeneity on the one hand, and minimalism on the other, or, as can be seen in the exhibition outside, a cross-scalar nimbleness that enables the work to express both system and craft, figure and field, and horizontality and extent across careful measure. Toru's sustained commitment to both design and scholarly research and to creative practice embody what I call the complete designer, individuals who contribute consistently through their productive careers with unwavering appetite for the many forms of knowledge that landscape architecture demands. Studio on Site has received many awards for many of the projects that you see outside, from also many organizations, including the Japan Institute of Landscape Architecture, the Good Design Gold Award, also a Japanese award, the Architectural Institute of Japan, the Civil Engineering Design Award, and the Organization for Landscape and Urban Green Infrastructure, to name a few. It has been our pleasure to have you here with us, Toru. Please join me in welcoming the 2017 Daniel Irwin Kiley Lecture, Toru Mitani.
Excuse me, yeah, they are preparing, and let me use this time for my impression of the GSD after 30 years, comparing with when I was a student. You know, actually, it's one, I don't know, it's good impression of GSD. You have a very good community between departments. When I was a student, it's kind of separated. And I have an option studio and a student from landscape architecture and urban design and architecture. We mix and talk together. And always we have to work. In the reality world, we have to work. And always project collaboration. You don't design by yourself, structure engineers and equipment designers. But it's good. But still, I think we should find out each landscape architecture and urban design, see what's your standing point, and clear, I don't know, professional, you know, is pride and clear differentiation of professions, and let's make a good collaboration. So an option studio mixture is great, but you know, we need such a kind of relationship. And the other things is now, may I tell this, Anita? you are so digitalized. And when I asked okay, coming, but this is better, I should talk. When I ask the student to make a model, they go down, you know, just move your hand, you know. Modeling is a process of thinking. Can I start? Sure. Yeah, now I have been the two projects. Okay, so thank you very much today. And my lecture is about the exhibition, Landscape Fabric of Detail. It doesn't work. Oh, yeah, I got, you know, that's obviously, you know, Halloween evening, and more pumpkin come out the street, made me nervous, but because today is Halloween, but I shouldn't spend such kind of, but I realized I should see I cannot change, okay, but I cannot find this kind of pumpkin so much with details. So I feel you're losing a very traditional detailing craft. So this is the best day to talk about the detail. I see. I should use both. And detail study. When I start the detail study, so everyone say, "Oh, Toru, you are so architectonic. You are a landscape architect." But I think the detail is very matter of landscape architecture. For example, the rake pattern on Zen Buddhist garden, it's not ornament, as you know, and not only the narrative representation, but it's very functional. You know, engineering factors back of it. I don't have time to talk about it, but for example, the Heian Jingu Kyoto, east side of the pond, there is this kind of stonework, and they are talking a lot about the balance of the large, smaller, middle size of stone. But after the storm, if you go there, it's working very well as a strainer. All leaves, twigs, and stop there and not let them in the pond. And the other thing is why we don't talk about detail so much, because it's a part of nature. And it's very ephemeral, phenomenal. It's difficult to record the drawings. But such detail is indeed an essential part for the space of the landscape architecture and succeeded by gardeners for centuries and centuries. So today, I talk about the detail of the surface, cloud, and the reflection. I see. first project, Kazenoka Crematorium, it's the 3-acre park, 3-hectare park besides the the crematorium, and it's a kind of upper part of the river terrace. And let me see. Sorry. And this is my first sketch when I visited the site, and I had the impression that, that's a chance to make earthwork for me, and it's worked very well for the borrowed landscape, this kind of. From the beginning, this kind of concave earthwork, I had an image. And about 120 and 50 meter over earthwork, we call it earth dish. It's concaved. And the challenge is provide a sense of void instead of the use for the people. And earth dish, this is tilted from to east to west and north to south. And first I designed these earthwork, and when I tilted, Fumihiko Maki started to tilt his architecture also like this. Earth dish tilt, So as a result, this concave earth is the space to spread a while for the funeral and the cremation. Concave is good at creating the distance like this. As I expected, I succeeded to have a borrowing landscape like this. And the perimeter of the oval earthwork is the path approaching towards the crematorium. But what I talk here, how to visualize the earth form, and how to being aware of the earth geometry. And the clue in my project here is this stitch line you see like this. And as a matter of fact, this parallel line is a kind of template to guide a heat cutter to cut out the form. But actually, in the construction, we're surprised that it worked very well to get the exact grading. And we use this cross drainage because it's concaved. And it's an easy way to get the exact earth form for the contractor. The result was successful without this kind of line. You don't see any appearance of the surface of the earth. Maybe this is just a large ditch of the earth. People love it, but sometimes they misunderstand the stepping stone. I'm sorry, it's end up at the wall. Depth of the path is important, I think. For landscape architecture, the path is not just a circulation. It's a tool to show the surface of the earth. For example, I made can you see? Oh yeah, you can see maybe 1 or 2 inch skirt and stand at the stainless edge and stop the finish. And I create a space here and creating the shadow. And we made a lot of mock-up on the side. I expected it has a shadow like this here, but unexpectedly the stainless edge got reflection of the light, and I was happy to showing sharp contrast between the footpath and earth surface. And now this is appearance after 20 years. I visited last year, and it's merging with the grass. This cross drainage merging with the grass, but still giving a sense of distance of the surface. Also, the edge of the surface must be treated very carefully, I think. But this kind of form is, the contractor always complain to make this kind of complicated form work. But I think it succeeded. It looks like this. It's just a 1-inch top concrete edge, but shouldn't be 2 inch or 3 inch, I thought. And sometimes it's sunken and sometimes it's raised up. And how much the height of this rise, if it's 2 inch or 3 inch, must be very careful. Otherwise, kind of the sense of surface, you see the old shadow of these, destroyed. Fontana, he is very conscious about the frame of the canvas, and he always has a knife cut here. So I looked for the chance to get a hole or a slit. And actually the center of the earthwork, I have to do both things. There is a large basin for the storm reservoir. So I utilized it as a hole and slit and set the bench on it. And actually there is an anemometer at the south gate here, and make sounds of wind bell, and that sound brought into that well, and they make a very subtle small sounds, that beautiful wind sound from the underground. But actually, while in the construction, the person of the city in charge of this project was worrying about, Toru, this is a crematorium. So no human voice from the underground. But finally, we got very good sounds. And eventually, it was happening that we encountered the real, earthwork, ancient tomb. So I took advantage of this to make another sense of the surface setting. This is an indication of, This is an indication of each tomb, but I'm setting another layer under the ground layer. It's a good contrast and revealing the existing of the earth surface. So in this project, I learned a tiny depth, thinness of the edge, or play with light. And this continuous shadow is important detail for creating the sense of spreading the surface. Okay, next project, Fukui Prefecture Library with Fumihiko Maki again. It's a chance to examine the detailed method of creating the sense of surface. It's the middle of the vast rice field, but it's prefecture library as a huge volume come out. So our strategy has a large mound at east side. This is south north east, south north east side, and south side a large globe. And here I try to deal with the mound. That's a large 4 meter high large mound as a tilted plane instead of the huge volume, the mound. Otherwise, that mound would enclose this space, and it's interrupt the space spread out to the sky. And then the surface with the footpath provides a visual measure to sound the distance, like making a frame. Footpath is making the frame in the landscape. And my strategy is very simple and subtle. As this parallel line is a shallow, a 2-inch shallow ditch, and bring the water to the drainage along the footpath. So it's a part of a drainage system, but it creates a shallow shadow when, like a sunset time. During the day, invisible. So sometimes it appears to create a sense of surface. Peter Walker told me, I remember, is that we landscape architects are soldiers. without any gun, even the sword, because we have only earth, trees, water, that's all. Nothing concrete, glass, and like architect. In the south part, I played a straight path with mound and created a picturesque view. But again, the contractor complained to me, so how to create such a three-dimensional path? So I told them that I don't know. But they tried, and the result very good. Now kids like to have a bike or skateboarding or skating here. Anyway, the footpath is always the heart of the landscape. It means other elements like those should be together integrated with the footpath and created. So sometimes I combined, this is a basin rim. This works as a reflector of the footlight, and I have a footlight just center of the path, and the people go around. This is a water supply. It's all integrated in the footpath. Then in the plain, nothing. So why we need such an effort to create a sense of surface, I asked me. I think because we are using a program of function as an opportunity to reveal the existence of surface and the existence of Earth. Okay, I will go to the next step. So could you change the slides? So I'd like to talk about next detail of the cloud. I titled the cloud, but just literally saying the woods. First, I would like to introduce the Oktama Forest Therapy. It's the project among the crowd, in other words, among the forest. And if I talk about forest therapy is totally different from a hiking way or climbing, even different from the forest bathing. It's a kind of medical treatment based on the proof and evidence. So they need a flat and wider way. And so the trail is not actually path, it's just a place to have a rest, have a lot of program. The site is along the valley here, like this, and it's small. Here, it's a small project, and a 1,200-meter trail around the valley. The trail has 3 stations we call the architectural facilities for the explanation aromatherapy or all other programs. Sometimes they have a wooden stove counseling like that, or here, hearing the water, the sounds of the stream. And between those stations, we required the place for the many kinds of program of laying down, the workshop, and the yoga, or like that. So for getting the wider flat path, at the beginning, we thought it's simple, easy, because if we have a path along the contour, we get a flat path. But in the reality, this mountain hillside in Tokyo is very steep, like this. So we have to make the peaceful therapy trail, but long retaining wall. 1 meter width need a 2-meter high retaining wall. So what should we do? We really confused. And the solution is use these retaining wall as a part of furniture. It gives appearance, the retaining of this furniture. It's simple. It's just setting this kind of steel net sitting bench. Then the retaining wall looks like a furniture, don't you think so? Yeah? Okay, but still, we have next obstacle, low budget. This is a public sector, public project, so we couldn't have any special detail or design. Everything must be standard. And my partner, Yuji Suzuki, is credible. He found somewhere the a kind of time saver you're using. The standard construction, the forest civil engineering, that's this book. So he said, Toru, just copy this. And it's, it's get down the cost estimation drastically. Yes. But so what we did, the structure is same, but what we did is just going back on the site many times, telling to the contractor, please face these logs, please align the bolt, please cut straight. Those, but otherwise they just construct in the standard detail and look so ugly, and it's not peaceful. Because they don't think that such a kind of civil engineering can provide the design space. This plaza is used at night to watch up the starlight. That's very popular, I'm very glad. But they gave it, this plaza a strange name. It's a wild planetarium. Don't you think? Right. But I'm very glad that that standard detail gives a chance to people to lay down and watch up the trees and the sky beyond it. So simplifying the material and unifying the detail is the shortest way to cost down. So here everything made of lumber, from the forest thinning, for example, this kind of deck for the yoga, tables, and arm basing we call, and it is for the program cooling down the blood pressure by cool stream, bring back the stream water here and cool down the arms, or some part overhang deck as also lumber. And after we made a lot of effort to creating this retaining wall, the forest therapy program again required me, we need more wider space. So we had to prepare this kind of floated deck. It's also made by the log, the same kind of detail. They use this width for place various workshops and consulting, and this is my first study model, and didn't like it because this kind of usual structure contained the shadow under the large shadow and the darker place under deck. And I have a feeling that many spiders here. So what the structure we used is this kind of lattice triangular structure, and the angle of structure giving the good design of the handrail too. And it gives this kind of, could be possible by that lattice structure floating deck. And, its shelter, we call it shelter, is almost simple combination of logs because we don't have any other materials. So all these logs tied by L-shape angle and tied by joint bar, joint bolt maybe. And sometimes this shelter sunk down under the deck and creating the private space for personal counseling or such a kind of things, talking. And white cubic shelter works as a kind of oh, okay, I should push this button. Yeah. Yeah. The white shelter works as a kind of marking point on the long trail because it's good for the person. Sometimes they have mental weak, in the condition mentally weak, so they are afraid to get in the dark forest. So we provide a very bright place. This is a distance we should go. And for an experiment, I set one of shelter far out of path in the wood, but today it's a popular place, a kind of couple. Nice. And here, I would show another standard civil engineering detail. It's a stone wall. It's of using the riverside stone. It's very vernacular in Japan, or very popular. We can see this kind of stone anywhere in Japan, but I never see it designed. So I had a simple treatment using this drainage line, cross drainage and vertical drainage, but I setting those drainage at the polygonal line for the folded retaining wall, just that. But it now looks like the structure for space. At the station 3, the wall is integrated with the architecture. It means the kind of marriage of art form and architectural space. We intentionally close the interior space toward the forest, but open up to the stone, because I like people see the stone wall I make. So everyone watching after the stone wall. But let's make a soft reflection, light of the reflection. It's come in the room, make the room bright. So, but still, again, here I visited the site many times. The stone work contractor, that's your work, that's your work. But he didn't understand. He just worked as I told. I learned a kind of conclusion. The key is not what the structure is, but how the light and shadow condition is. How does it revealed by these structures? And it depends on the way of forest thinning, and where we have an open space, it's decide the direction of the light. And more importantly, this structure reflects the movement, or the fluctuation of the light. That's very important for rest and the therapy. And moreover, the structure is set there to reveal the sometimes it's a duplicate of the movement, fluctuation above air and at the foot. So it's amplified fluctuation. All detailed effort for it, the simplicity results low cost, very important, and the simplicity reveals the nature of the cloud of landscape. I learned that first project, and could you change the next file? Okay, now in the creating the cloud in the city, the first project is Shinagawa Central Garden, but actually this model is a concept model I made in 1992. It's the middle of Tokyo, Shinagawa Station, large Shinkansen station, and they had a large redevelopment. And eventually, that time I came back from America. So this is my first concept model, just using the pin. And while developers are discussing how to use this open space for the people, so I brought in this model. Let's use the space for trees. I'm landscape architect, you know. So this is my first scheme, but actually construction in 2003, we have almost 13 years. And while those 13 years, a lot of people brought in, Toru, why don't we use the space for the event, kids garden, and they said the rose garden and some hill and parks. No, I said, let's fill this place just the trees. So this is the final plan. I compromised. I filled up the trees. You know, always we have to compromise with the people and the client, but it's developed the scheme a lot. I have a lot of variation of the plaza, but all trees line up actually, and it's concave again. This is a result in 2003, except 242 cell-seed and quercus, nothing special. In other words, no program instead of program in the center of the city. I think it's our responsibility of a landscape architect. I am happy to see today, actually many people sitting down under the canopies you cannot see. And I'd like to start again about detail. The elements, the motif breaks through this scheme is this tree bar called one tree bar contains the 5 cell-seed film. And it is a band of floated PC panel, as you see, the PC panel, and protecting the root environment from the compression. So I repeated that the tree bands along the 100-meter mall, and it's got the unity. But each place has a different kind of pavement. Sometimes it's just gray. In part, it's just flat with other pavement. Oh, I should push. And some other part, the tree bar play with the green mounds. But the repetition gives 5 cell-seed film loads. And that regularity is, appears at the evening by the lighting pattern, because I set the all lighting and bench on the tree bar. So tree bar have everything again, and other personal elements. This is the diagram, the relationship of plaza and I say cloud here. The pitch of the 6 meter by 6.5 is decided of the size of cell-seed film. But finally, I realized it's very good Japanese privacy or private use of people enjoy each private space under the trees and a good distance for them. So it's good for cell-seed film means good for us. I remember this time, Lori Olin told in the field trip in Philadelphia, the pavement design is for the trees. It is a screen of their shadow. It is a pavement, it's a screen for the tree shadow. I remember the Lori Olin told that to us. I found this old sketch in my sketchbook. Traffic instructor underground, and a variety of people use some grade, but the identity of the place realized a cloud above it. There are 7 follies among the grove. You see, these we call it follies. They are actually, actually the exhaust or inlet intake tower for the underground traffic system. Frames are finished by black or polished or brusted stainless steel. Black make a flame, but the polished part have a reflection of trees, means they increase the texture of the clouds. One folly is here. One folly is the polished side, duplicate, triplicate the sense of cloud. Water features are also designed for such a reflection. I realized when all those finishing details are unified very well, the pattern of groves could be increased and increased, and it makes the space filled by the fluctuation of the cloud. We keep the relationship with the maintenance gardener very well, and we have this kind of chart. This is bad trimming, this is good trimming. So trimming, advising, the discussion is very important through the maintenance. It's another detailed design. Today, through those efforts, the cell-seed film are growing fine and turning orange and yellow together with them. And I love the texture and color of the cell-seed film. In winter, they have the beautiful red bud. deciduous reveals the totally different space composition of the evergreen. Dialogue with root. I love this book. Maybe Loeb Library has this. I don't know. It's an illustration of tree root by the Dr. Noboru Karizumi. He devoted all his life to research on roots and illustrate it. It's a good, very exciting encyclopedia. When I was young, I was so conscious about the differentiation of plane and tree trunk. But after 30 years, came back in Cambridge, I really appreciate this. Brick pavement is very flexible and looseness for root race. It's a kind of dialogue between the city and trees. So, that's a Cambridge landscape. Sometimes I express root condition of existing trees like this. This is a renovation of the old factory. The architect owner changed the factory as some exhibition presentation room, and we spread out very geometrical lawn place, grass place. But actually, obviously, the geometrical earth plane does not fit with the height level of these existing trees. So we had expressed such a kind of differentiation and how much root area there is, and have some detailed design. Sometimes the tree is lower than our geometry, and preparing the good drainage for the tree house. And just designing the efficient root treatment with careful details, it's enough to design the landscape architecture, I think, space. And I recent urban project, this is like Machida City Hall. Yes, I'm interested to express such a dialogue with the root and city. Expressing and emphasizing the scale of root. This is a Zelkova serrata. And those root area gives a symbolic icon in the front of a plaza, and people enjoy those space under the canopies. In fact, in urban construction, we prepare a lot of engineering for root conditioning, not only the support, not only the drainage, not only the irrigation, aeration tube or aggregate rooting system. We have a lot of things, but all those efforts hidden. So I like to, there is such a kind of effort under the grounds. And sometimes we bring our design into a productization in catalog. It is another way to keep the construction cost low. It's products. For example, these fan-shaped PC support each other in this kind of shallow cone shape, create a large space under it. It must be the shallow cone, so I expect these kids, people realize walking on it, oh, this is we're walking on the root. Thank you very much. Thank you, trees, giving the space for us. So those engineering results, the creation of the air of the clouds, root and cloud is combined. Sometimes I multi-stem trees a lot according to the Michael van Valkenburg's advice. Only one is laughing. We are all the students. Yeah. Okay, I will go the next slides. I titled the detail for reflection, but simply I'm talking about a water feature. And here I introduce just ongoing project. So now after the construction photograph, Most recent project, this is Shigeru Band with Shigeru Band. We won the competition, Heritage Center of the Mountain Fuji. This is a stream, flow right next to the site. The Sengen Shrine has a beautiful fountain from Mountain Fuji, and the stream runs down along the approach, and the site just beside of the stream. Oh, that's a nice site, we thought actually, but in the reality, it's surprising. The site is here, and the stream here, and there is a shrine gate, and this large parking lot not included in the competition. That's awful. And we went to the site, stream over there, site behind the fence. This is out of our sight, so I told the Shigeru Ban, let's forget about the competition to win the competition. It's kind of roulette, getting the first prize and just, no way. So we just spread out the sheet of, spread out the sheet of water and continue his center to the stream by the water feature. And we forget about the competition. But finally, the committee chose our ideas for first prize. Then after that, the prefecture and the city has to purchase that parking lot for their project. But I said, thank you very much. But now again, the public project, and they need a budget for buying the land. So very low budget. So all my effort, it's very simple, just a sheet of water, and all my effort, it's clear sheet of water and detail of the edge and creating large, quiet sheet of water. Barcelona Pavilion has a very simple space configuration. The expression is wall and plate, horizontality. But I think it's his detail overhanging the paving on the water is successful. Otherwise, if you have a vertical wall here, it's just a container of the wall. But now here, the sheet of water is an expression, is a horizontality as a material. And sculptor, yeah, I should go here. The sculptor, as he's a magician of creating the shadow on the water and sometimes under the water. And he has a lot of layer between like 8-inch thickness of the water and having a lot of layer. And emphasizing the green is one surface. We learn a lot from the sculptor. And also, Isamu Noguchi is so successful. He has, again, the same detail overhanging on the water. So stone side never wet. And it looks like floated over the water. So we feel the weight, thickness of the stone so much. The shadow works very well. And we challenge how we can make this shadow minimal. But it's a huge water, so water circulation is huge amount. And what's the minimum size? We calculate with the engineer a lot, and how we combine the concrete structure and the steel structure make these stone finishes as much as thin. Now, it's in the spring, construction start. And Shigeru Ban studied his structure, and we combined with his color, chose a lot of stone. Maybe I think we chose this stone from China. Yeah. And now it's the architecture almost finished, now interior construction. And our side, the landscape slab is starting the construction. See this. Now, if we had followed the competition regulation, the adjacent circumstances look like this. But today, we have a large plate. I'm looking forward to see the simple water feature has a reflection of this shape of Shigeru-ban. Okay, this is another ongoing project. It's a research center in Yamagata, is very northern part of Japan. It's countryside. This is a site. It's a beautiful rice field and vastness. And our concept model like this, our proposal is overlaying the facilities, architectural facilities on the existing rice field with minimum impact, with minimum disturbance. So to the client, we have this kind of presentation model. Just we slit the photograph of the rice field under our model. This is spring, a rice field is green in summer, and a beautiful golden surface in the autumn. And still in the winter, the white, surface, beautiful. And in the early spring, they have seeding a lot of nitrogen fixed ground cover. In Japan, we have a lot of pinkish flora in the rice field. So please see this. Rice field is definitely Japanese primary landscape in mind, and this image I'm showing is a fixed view records that I did for 2 years ago. So but the people living in the countryside don't care about anything of it. It's just farmland, but it's the strongest expression of the landscape. For the layout plan like this, we employ the traditional formation of the farmer's house and grove, characteristics of landscape. We realize it's in scale, in the same scale our facilities and existing farmer's house. So we started the survey of the existing windbreak and domestic species, almost a quercus, or Castanoposis or like that. Sometimes the Chamaecyparis and conifers mixed. And we found a wooden fence remained there with the trees, at the foot of the trees. Maybe we guess, and I had an interview, they use this kind of wood fence to protect the small trees when you set the windbreak, and after the tree grow, then stop the wind at the foot of tree. They use this kind of wood fence. So I decided we design it. Our next is nothing, It's a kind of serendipity for landscape architects always when we step in the site. I think it's a kind of wild poppy. So we thought this kind of long wood fence will be a primary landscape element in early stage of the tree growth. So carefully, but in inexpensive way, that's important, we studied the detail of the construction method. As a matter of fact, that fence was experimentally applied at the center of Tokyo Bay to create a forest for the future development. Inside, we plant baby trees for future forests with everyone. We employed every student in my school and the contractor and architects, landscape architects, also the client, the one president also planting. We work together. And now, just the fence is visible. Behind the fence, we have baby trees, but it's have a good contrast with the center of Tokyo, beyond the Tokyo Bay. One important concept we discussed with the developer here is how to keep the vacant lot as an essential, aesthetical landscape during the long, slow development. Today, the city is very slow, developing very slow. So we have always a lot of vacant lot, and they see this is just vacant lot. But must be the good landscape. So I thought the fence design is a clue. Then, as a matter of fact, some art curator called younger artists like this use my fence of tree nursery. Some experimental art festival they have. One of the fence is painted by graphic artists like this. But anyway, this is celebrating the nursery, the baby trees, and celebrating the vacant lot under the process of the slow urban development. Okay, let's come back again the Yamagata Prefecture or the rice field. That's now the story of the rice field. Besides those house growth, I was so curious the water network. You see in the rice field there is a very complicated water network, and also it's not farmers' concern, but inlet, outlet, or overflow channel, those create so nice music of the water. It's very small sound, but while you are walking, it's beautiful sounds of water. So rice field filled by the sounds of water, but sometimes too many they have. It's mysterious. So now our design most effort is layout of the channel, where is the irrigation, where is the overflow, and creating the details of outlet outlet and overflow to create good sounds, water, and echo. And also, I remember another things I learned for the Hideo Sasaki. We were working on Hawaii. Hideo told me that, Toru, water is not material. Water is sounds and reflection. That's a phrase I remember from Hideo. And also we are discussing to bring back the traditional water network with this kind of small reservoir. This small reservoir keeps the heterogeneous species, insects, and animals under the snow. But modernized rice field don't use this kind of reservoir, so it's all insects. They are died. I hope so. It's still under ongoing project. I hope we can recreate again the rice field landscape. Thank you very much. For the conclusion, the fabric of detail. Yeah, I should. Sorry, I was asking him to open the file and forgetting I opened it. Okay, detail and landscape. These two words stand in vastly different scale, I think. But any beautiful fabric is just a result of careful, the simple, creative detail process like this. It's a string and fabric. And I love the grand wood, paintings. And also the famous painting of the countryside, you say Grandma Moses? Anna Moses? Now what is the difference? I do not like so much about Anna's paintings. What's the difference? West of America? East of America? But it's about material, physical space, but she's expressing the people's daily life, the happiness, and culture. Professor Mark Tribe writing about this well. So Wood's painting is about again, the earth. The reason, he's showing the reason all these detail and the process of the detail. So almost like an engineer's drawing, I think. More importantly, how the persistence on this detail makes the essential sense of the landscape. It's a scale and distance. Landscape fabric of details. Once the process of detail is defined, it suddenly spread out and creates a world, almost leaving people behind without human scale. Such a solitude of landscape provides me a witness of sublime, or in other words, another world, you say. That's the reason why I worked on detail so much. Thank you.
Would you take some questions?
Yeah, if I can hear. Could you?
Thank you, Toru. That was brilliant as always. Toru will take some questions from the audience, please.
There is someone. Yeah.
In the Mount Fuji Heritage Center, in the model, what did you use? What materials did you use to get that beautiful reflection in the model? The materials. In the model.
Are you asking the material of the slab?
In the model.
In the model. So you like to use it for your model. I will teach you. Please use a black cardboard and prepare the silver spray and the dust of the silver spray on the black plate. Now it looks like granite. That's your question? That's important, it's detail here. Yes. But so I told you it shouldn't be digitalized because making model process, and sometimes you find a totally different viewpoint from a model. And for example, if you digitalize, you got the shape you imaged. But while you're making the model by yourselves, you're getting the shape, unconscious shape from the other side. So, input the data in the computer, and if it's come out from the 3D model maker, where is the dust going? Sometimes dust is very important in the other part of the material. Well, I shouldn't talk so much about it. Okay, next question. Yes.
Thank you. It's beautiful work. Looking at the forest therapy path, I found myself worrying about, if that were to be done here, worrying about two things: safety and ADA compliance. Mm-hmm. And so I wonder how those issues come up for you in the work that you do in Japan. Questions of...
Yeah, sometimes my hearing device.
Thanks.
Yeah, I understand. That's very important. When I was working in the hotel, resort hotel in Hawaii, some details decided by insurance. It's in America. I thought America. This is America. But anyway, in the octamatherapy, yes, we required a lot of handrail. And for a landscape architect, how to deal with the handrail is very important, because when you sit down, the handrail just come to your eye level and interrupt all the view. And in the forest therapy, some part we set the handrail for the safety, but the other part, no. So we discussed a lot with the instructor of the forest therapy. And actually, that space now used for the elder people, health wellness. And sometimes wheelchair, we prepare that flat surface for the wheelchair. And there is a stream. And we try to make a bridge over the stream with a handrail, but we decided not to construct it. We just let the stream going and only the handrail on the stream. So people just grab the handrail, walk on the rocky stream. So I don't know, safety is very important, but sometimes people should protect their own, save by themselves. And it's a dialogue between, I don't like to be sued, but it's very important. If I continue all handrail along the trail, it's killed the space, I think. Yeah. Thank you very much asking about handrail. And even in the studio, we are teaching the 100 scale. Please think about handrail. Okay.
There's a question here. Sure.
I was interested in the way that you were talking about the crematorium project and the way that the architect was reacting to the landscape and tilting the building. Can you talk about that a little bit more? Like, what was that relationship?
最後かな。
マキさんが建物を傾き始めたののそこら辺のダイアログはどんな感じ
Okay, all right. Yeah, with the microphone, my hearing. That's all. Yes, because it's a kind of complicated process. At first, he got the project of crematorium. I was just in design the garden around it. But after a year, the city purchased the next land, get some budget from the country, and they decided to create a park. And the park project go ahead of his, crematorium. So we decided earth dish and tilted like this. So then after my design, Fumihiko Maki started his design. So it's lucky, he liked my design, and he adjusted his architecture to the earthwork. So I tilted, so he tilted, like that. That's a question you'd like to know? Yeah, sometimes, or most project, architects decide everything. And sometimes under the construction, they call Toru, come and please plant the tree here. Already everything is set. But in such a case, I can enjoy it. I interpret or I read the architect's mind, what he is like to do and what kind of space he like make. And I try to show a little bit different aspect of his concept from the landscape architecture. So it's a kind of conversation in any stage between architect and landscape architecture.
You showed a couple of images of the Scarpa tomb Brion.
Oh, okay.
You showed a couple of images of the tomb Brion.
Yeah.
Yes. Were there other aspects of that have influenced your work?
あのプロジェクトで他にも先生の仕事にインフルエンスがあったものありますか？
I had the impression that Scarpa's cemetery is very landscape architecture, because he set some tombs for the families, brothers, but the space defined by the raised green plate. So I learned a lot how he make the grass area as a plain instead of just earth. For example, I couldn't show the, maybe the edge raised edge of the grass area is very thin, almost 1 inch. And he is interesting. He didn't hide the detail of the retaining wall in the earth. He exposed the retaining wall, the basement of retaining wall thicker. So he is showing the technique, how he get the very thin edge of the earth plate. So I learned a lot from that work, from how to show the plane itself as an object instead of just earth. That's I learned from a lot. Yeah, if you have always the edge is important for landscape architect. If we have a thicker edge, it's not edge already. The frame contained everything. Like a frame of the old paintings. Okay. Thank you. Asking, yes.
You talked about the responsibility of landscape architects. I want to know if you think that this kind of responsibility has already changed nowadays from 30 years ago.
As a professional landscape architect from 30 years ago, same. It's what should we do as a landscape architect? For the society? Yeah, because I just talk about aesthetics, and all projects have the social bands and economical and what kind of contribution we can do. But I think most important thing to create a meaningless place. The city is for function, the program, how to use, what kind of activity raise the price of the lands, and the people thinking about the program. But when we walk along the Charles River, no program, So it's very difficult to get a design fee to create nothing. But it's one of the landscape architect's responsibility. Let's just leave it. Natural conservation is fine. Don't use there. That decision is very good design. But even if you design something, nothing, just the trees. Let's release the mind of the city people, I think. It's the same in 30 years ago, 50 years ago, and 100 years later, I think.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you again, Toru, for a fantastic presentation. And please join us for a reception in the exhibition. Thank you again.